Just as I thought Fionna and Kate couldn't get any better, they just had to go and make 2 banger episodes. Seriously, how did you even think of this stuff? This is basically Adventure Time's What If, and I couldn't be happier with the universes that we're getting to see. This is like the best show of the last few years, hands down, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Episode 7, The Star, begins with a young Marceline in the wasteland, post-Mushroom War. And I love this smash cut. It might be my favorite title card so far. She walks up to a corpse to take his shoes, and the screen tilts up to reveal that it's Simon. Someone walks up to Marceline, bam, title card. Ooh, man, that gave me chills. So this is a world where Simon bit it before meeting Marceline. That's where things deviated. Fionna, Cake, and Simon zap in from Baby World, and Prismo's remote is smoking. It's only good enough for one more jump. So in this episode, we get a lot more characterization for Fionna herself. She's feeling bad about slicing up all the candy citizens in the last episode, and she's beginning to wonder if maybe they are hurting everyone by just existing. I like how they're giving her this type of arc. It's a much more mature lesson for her to learn. Fionna coming to terms with mortality makes sense, as the last 2 episodes both featured a character eating it right in front of Fionna, one of which was sort of directly her fault, but as she's pondering this, the group gets jumped by a bunch of vamps. And as soon as I saw these classic vampire designs from the Stakes miniseries, I immediately started to put this together in my head. Since Simon died and never took care of Marcy, she never grew up to be the vampire hunter, and now they're holding all the power. It really should be humbling to Simon to realize just how much his mere presence in Marcy's life indirectly caused all of Ooo to be better and safer. So Simon also tells us that the jewel's magic is fading, which, huh? I honestly wasn't aware that magic could fade from the crown like this. I guess it's disconnected from the main thing. But then again, Gibbon's jewel is disconnected and it's not losing power at all. Maybe because it's cracked? Or maybe because Prismo's remote just takes that much power to operate. It sort of makes sense, given what we see happen to Bimo in the next episode. An unknown force defeats the vamps, and Simon tastes the water, and he knows that it's holy water? Bro, how can you tell the difference between water and holy water? It's such a small, insignificant detail, but come on, that's a huge stretch. To say that Simon is so smart he can tell if water's been blessed or not. I wonder if it was Shelby who blessed it.
Check, please!
The unknown force turns out to be PB, and this next reveal, bro, had me completely on the floor. In this world, the Vampire King has the crown. So since Marcy never defeated him, he rose up and took over the whole thing, and the crown. This also means that he likely stomped Two Bread Tom, which means Founders Island never happened, meaning no humans and no Finn. This is why Adventure Time is so good at world building. Everything is connected like this, so changing one thing has a massive butterfly effect on the lore. It's insanely fun to try and piece together the sequence of events that must have occurred if you change one little small detail. The VK uses the crown to keep the sky dark, so he doesn't have to hide from the sun. I find it interesting that the VK isn't giving into the MMS that plagued Ice King, although he does seem like a more grounded character in his mind, with hundreds or even 1,000 years of experience. Or maybe because the VK is already considered magic? We know from Stakes that the vampires didn't come from the mushroom bomb, they existed beforehand. So I can't say for sure. We also get more Marshall Lee and Gary in this episode, and while it's not immediately important, it is really nice to see them together in the end. Everybody is shipping these two hard. Honestly, I kinda like them even more than PB and Marcy, if I'm being honest. Marshall Lee has a little mirror decoration of Hambo, which is just a nice touch. So this is really intriguing. Martin Mertens is in PB's gang, which means I was definitely incorrect earlier when I said no Founders Island. So Two Bread Tom must have escaped after all, but if the island exists, why not just go there? Martin being here throws off a lot of what I assume to be true about this world, and I honestly don't have a clear-cut answer for you, and neither is the episode. Maybe the island doesn't exist, but instead Martin grew up in the wasteland, and he's one of the last remaining humans. PB tells us of the Star, who we later find out is Marceline. She says she has a score to settle with her, which is an interesting line that suggests PB lost someone or something to Marceline. Something personal. So Baby Finn's stowed away in Fionna's pack, and Martin has a really sweet interaction with him. Only in this apocalypse world would Martin be a good father figure to him. But what's also interesting and equal parts hilarious is that halfway through this episode, Baby Finn just stops appearing. Like, he literally just isn't there anymore. Simon was holding him after the tank broke, but then later they're all riding Cake, and he's nowhere to be found. The animators just stopped animating him. I guess he technically could be in Fiona's pack, but she empties it later and he's not there, so it's just kind of a weird thing that the episode does. Introduces baby Finn and then just forgets about him without him really doing much. But this might not be the last we've seen of him because he is in the theme song, and the background he's set against matches this episode. So I have faith that he'll show up again. I honestly thought that the Scarab would play a much bigger role in the series, but he honestly hasn't. I kind of forgot about him if I'm being honest. Well, he's still looking for everyone, and now he's the one ignoring the calls. On his screen, the Cosmic Owl is wanted for profiteering, but honestly that's not a surprise. Unlike Prismo, the Cosmic Owl has been shown to be more loosey-goosey with the rules more often. Like that time he fell in love with Orgalorg? Yeah, that actually happened. I did not expect Billy, or rather Billy's corpse, to show up in this episode, but man is he looking rough. It's an interesting thing Billy showing up here, because you'd think the VK having the Ice Crown would be a powerful enough catalyst for characters like PB and Billy to not even exist in the first place. But I guess not. Regardless, his presence here is super creepy. The episode comes together pretty quickly after this. Martin ends up getting sucked by the vampires, but they press on and infiltrate the castle. Castle? More like a big cactus. They set off garlic bombs, and Huntress bites the dust. Her death reveal was one of the darkest so far in this show, just based on visuals alone. She doesn't poof into smoke, and it doesn't cut away from the action. We just see the Vampire King holding her corpse, penetrated by arrows. Oh, yikes. A fight ensues, and Cake tries to yoink the crown off the VK's head. Fionna zaps them to the next world, using their last transport. Episode ends. So, I kind of breezed through that ending. And it's because what's really interesting to me about this episode is not necessarily how it ends, but what it suggests about the world itself. The world building was incredible here, and I want to know what happened. So I have to bring this up. The ending of this episode juxtaposes Marsha Lee x Gary and PB x Marcy. The way it's framed might suggest that in Vampire World, PB and Marcy might have had a thing going at some point, even if it was a long time ago. Marcy does mention that she would allow PB to join her, and that wouldn't really make sense unless they had some sort of connection beforehand. It's never outright confirmed, but it is fun to speculate. This episode in general really stood out for its strong world building, answering questions but also presenting us with more in the process. There are obviously humans in this world, but where are they? Were Martin and Huntress just stragglers? Is there indeed a Founders Island where they're all camped out, waiting for the vampires to run out of food on the mainland? It's one of the darker realities, only eclipsed by the very next episode, Jerry. This episode is intercut with a fleshing out of Simon and Betty's backstory, and how they met. It's a really nice grounded B story that's a good replacement for the finished Marsha Lee and Gary arc. We won't be recapping those parts except for the Easter eggs, which we'll cover when we get to them. The title card for this episode is extremely ominous, and the font choice evokes a design theme consistent with the Lich, which should have been a tip-off for me. The swirly illustration type design is creepy in just the right way. We immediately get a continuation of the Scarab story. After being zapped from the time room by Prisma's boss, we get to meet a new, higher character, Orbo. He's not the boss, but he's sort of like the second in command. And he's voiced by David McCormack, or Bandit from Bluey. Perfect casting right there, he fits right in. We get to see where Prismo and the other gods originate from, or at least where they reside. It seems to be a pocket of space with weird, colorful properties. Once we get a look inside, it's evocative of a kindergarten classroom? I mean, that's how I would describe it. A lot of the designs are abstract in a way that only Adventure Time can pull off. Cut back to the gang in this dead world, literally devoid of life. Again, should have been a tip-off for me. Fionna is still bummed about how the last episode went down. She essentially removed Cake from the equation so she wouldn't get hurt, and Cake is still mad at her for that. I do appreciate how we're starting to fracture the group just a little bit, get some characterization in before the finale. So here's the flashback we want to focus on. Simon officially meets Betty at a college lecture, while he's giving a presentation on ancient artifacts. And some of these should look familiar. Actually, they all should. He's searching for the Armor of Zeldron, the Wand of Disbursement, and the Porcelain Lamb. Armor of Zeldron is from Season 2's Blood Under the Skin, Wand of Disbursement is from Season 4's Sons of Mars, and the Porcelain Lamb is from Season 4's Beyond This Earthly Realm. I'm most curious about the Wand of Disbursement, as I assume most of us were under the assumption that it was a Martian gadget, but this may point to its earthly origins. Back to present day, and Cake has stumbled into the treehouse to find BMO. But before we follow him, I'd just like to point out some key details about this room. We get some early clues as to when this extinction event happened in the timeline of this world. Since the treehouse is still intact, we know it came before Come Along With Me where it was destroyed. by the presence of this very specifically detailed note from Finn created in the episode Temple of Mars, we can assume that it takes place after that episode. It's even in the same location where he left it, right next to the freezer. But, based on what goes down in the climax of this episode, that can't be the case either, because the Lich is in his Billy form here, which would suggest he succeeded in his time room wish to end all life. That's the last time we saw Billy form. This could be his wish reality created from his wish, but Jake essentially negated his wish with his own, so I'm not sure how it continues to exist. Regardless, the Lich made his wish years before Finn left this note, so I don't know how both of these things could be true. Maybe it's a different note, but it's got the same Kilroy was here drawing on it, so I don't see how it can just be a different note. It's just an interesting bit. Maybe they didn't intend for this note to have timeline implications, but it's framed in the shot like it does. Anyway, BMO mentions that football has also been missing, which is an odd detail. I guess even football couldn't escape the Lich's wish, but BMO somehow did? Whatever. We arrive at what used to be the Ice Kingdom, and we get a deep-cut Easter egg in the form of ninja books, used in Season 2's The Chamber of Frozen Blades. They also find Ice King's secret tapes, which was seen in Season 3's Holly Jolly Secrets Part 1 and 2. Considering we're getting a lot of Easter eggs from the earlier seasons, I'm going to go ahead and assume that the Lich takeover occurred when he made his wish in the Season 5 premiere. They watch one of his tapes, and what is probably the eeriest moment in all of Adventure Time is when Ice King suddenly turns into a skeleton, marking the exact moment the Lich took over. It only lasts for a few frames, but it's creepy as hell. BMO says that everyone turned into a skeleton, and then Jerry showed up. I also didn't catch this before, but Fionna takes this world's crown when she looks at the Ice King's kick drum, and you can just barely see the crown poking out from inside of it too. That was really slick. And I want to know how many people actually picked up on this the first time they watched it. We get another flashback, and as it turns out, Simon did in fact find the Enchiridion back in the day. Okay, theory for you all. Simon found the Enchiridion. Sometime after it was found, it began to be studied by the government, and one of its spells was used to create a bomb. Yes, I am putting forth the theory that the Enchiridion was used to start the Mushroom War. It would explain the bomb's weird magical properties in a non-magic world, and it would also explain why Betty, a woman of the past, knew of its powers in the Elements miniseries. She was one of the ones who found it. I don't think there's anything in the lore that conflicts with this theory, but I might be forgetting something. Let me know in the comments if you believe this or not. So when the gang makes it to the Candy Kingdom, we enter PB's lab, and in the background, we can see on a chalkboard that PB was experimenting with Finn's DNA, or at least studying it. She did acquire it in Season 4's Goliad, which took place right before the Lich fiasco. So this actually makes a lot of sense from a timeline perspective. I wonder if that was intentional. Then BMO dies in an actually really gruesome way. His heart fries himself from the inside, and it's honestly hilarious. The comedic timing is so good. They decide they need to find Jerry and tell him what happened. But before we do, we get a really nice song that seals the deal for Simon and Betty. Between this and Part of the Madness, we've seen some amazing songs from this show. But, okay, now, you guys know how much I love the Lich a lot, and this has to be hands down his finest appearance. It wasn't until I saw the green illuminated on the wall that I figured it out. Ugh, I forgot how creepy Billy Lich was. And he's basically a decrepit skeleton now. That Billy part of him is rotting away quickly. He catches them in the same way he catches Finn in Escape from the Citadel. Cut back to the Scarab, and Orbo is preventing him from seeing Prisma's boss. We do get a quick look at this phone that came from him though. It's got 2 stars, an angel's wing, and a devil's wing. I'm racking my brain here, trying to think of what this could be referencing, or if it's just completely new. Half angel, half devil suggests a being that balances morality, but it doesn't really ring a bell for the rest of Adventure Time. But I have a feeling we're going to find out in these last 2 episodes. The Lich knows of Ice King, likely because of the events of Season 2's Immortal Folly. Simon repeats the Lich's line from Season 9's Whispers.
Yes, while the mortal world doubts and questions, I know exactly what I am. I am the Ceaseless Wheel, the last Scholar of Golb.
Scholar of Golb. The Lich learned to conquer life from Golb, which gives them a sort of student-mentor relationship. This has implications, being said again right before the finale, where the Lich and Golb will presumably meet on screen for the first time. Fionna reveals that she has the Ice Crown, and she kept it from Simon for a few hours because she doesn't want to curse someone. Here, she's taking responsibility for her actions, and she would rather live a boring life than subjugate Simon to his miserable IK existence. It's really mature, but Simon reassures her, and he performs the ritual again, which does end up working. Fionna and Cake are transported back, but just as they are, the scarab shows up to decapitate Simon. Before he can, Simon remembers Betty, and a gulb hole shows up, sucking them both in. Cut to the Lich, who's still connected to Simon, and his eyes change from his signature green to Gulb's red, sporting his 4 eyes. Episode ends. Wow, what a mindfuck of a finale. On the bingo card of the lore us AT fans want the most, the Lich-Gulb relationship is going to be an unexpected but welcome treat. This episode was Fionna and Cake's darkest yet, and I can't wait to see what awaits us in these last 2 episodes. Before I close out this review, I want to thank all of you guys for watching my videos. They're never the most consistent thing out there, but I'm proud of that inconsistency, because the reason for it is we're still improving with each new upload. I'm almost finished with this new round of improvements. I'm drawing the last few outfit positions for this new fall-themed outfit. And just so I'm not dropping you in blind, here's how my video format will work going forward. Every small review video like this will be this default candle's position with a new outfit every video, like normal. For longer video essays that aren't TV reviews, candles will have one consistent outfit used across an expanded lineup of positions, allowing me to make videos of any structure or type. Food reviews, vlogging, even cooking videos are on the table here. I can't wait for you to see it. Anyway guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next week for the finale of Fionna and Cake.